Welcome to the Bigfoot Researchers Journal. We're back. We had some illness, some injury in the house. It's been a while, but we're back in the field. I'm actually waiting for Scott right now, and we're out shooting thermal this evening and this weekend. A couple of daytime expeditions, a couple of nighttime expeditions. We'll pick something up. In this film, you're going to see, remember this guy? I saw him a couple months ago. Check it out. The last expedition with Scott, I got him on film. We're going to cover that. We're also going to show you some real-time situations where these guys are moving in around us, and you can plainly hear them. One instance in particular, Melanie heard one sneaking up the bank behind us on the other side, right? There's a 45-degree incline. So they crawl right up it, and they're watching us from about 13 feet away. I'm giving a segment, and Mel's like getting a sense like something's coming up behind her, so she starts filming behind her. Incredible piece of footage, great images. Again, proof that what we're studying is Sasquatch, right? The thermal signature alone that looks exactly like the drawing. Come on, guys. It's a thermal signature. It's a heat signature, right? Clearly, the plants around it don't have the same heat signature, right? It's like next to nothing. So, I mean, we're staring at a Sasquatch. The same one I saw.
What you got?
We're on our way in to our observation post, and we're trying to get in there as quickly as we can to ignore everything, because we find that when we make a big deal about us coming through here and checking everything, they don't come around on this side. They'll be on the other side sometimes, but not on this side. When we just bust tail on this trail to the observation spot, sometimes they'll come up on this side and they'll sneak up behind us. So that's what we're trying to get going on here. Hopefully it'll work. Let's keep going.
We went down last week. We were hearing them, we were smelling them. We went in this way first, then we went down the trail, and we definitely smelt them the whole way down and heard them. Kind of like we're hearing little noises now. We definitely had a little more wind.
Let's get the play-by-play on that one.
Yeah, heart pumping a little bit. As Mark was just talking, I was definitely hearing movement behind us, so I started doing some recording. And then as Mark finished up, and we were walking back, we heard this huge, like, just like bam, right there. And it's just definitely one of those moments where you get the fight or flight, you know, and that's kind of the same experience is what we've had in previous times, where we are recording on the other side and we're hearing them here, and we ended up actually catching them on film behind us. So, and it's very consistent that we constantly hear them behind us. So, and today, you know, it actually almost seems like there's more around us, like we're hearing more movement, which I kind of think they might be getting a little bit more comfortable with us being here, so they might be risking a little bit more and getting a little bit closer, because that movement, you know, it's just really so frustrating to really be hearing them all around us and smelling them, and then there you are kind of in the situation in a moment of really experiencing them kind of walk away as we're coming out of the area. Very interesting. And here we go again.
So let me lay it out for you. This is what led to what Melanie was just describing. I was giving a segment, and you're going to hear me in the background. My camera's on a tripod, my good camera, and I'm filming myself down on the bank. What you're staring at is the bush behind Melanie, and it's on a 45-degree incline off the side of that trail. It drops straight off to a body of water. It's the swamp. Very thick bush. And this is the individual that snuck up the bank and was about 13 feet from us. And Melanie was filming behind her using the secondary lens on the iPad because she heard something creeping up on us. Keep in mind, I was busy giving a segment, but you can plainly see this individual's whole head and its whole entire face. We'll jump frames and we get a better frame now, and you can plainly see that Sasquatch is right there watching me as I give a segment while my wife films it. If you were wondering if they're real, there it is, man. You're staring at it. It's not a bush. You can plainly see that. But in addition to that, in this exact same clip, she pans over a little bit, and we actually catch one of the big males standing in front of a palm tree. If you look right here, inside that little highlight, you can see there's like a triangle-shaped pointy head, and you can just make out the beginnings of the brow ridge. Now, this is really the first frame with anything identifiable, so as we forward frames, you're going to start to see this individual. You can see his cone head. It's right there. There it is. That's the individual right there. That stripe across the center of that triangle, that's his forehead. His eyes are just under that. You can see the ball of his nose. We'll zoom in a little bit. This is a male Bigfoot trying to stay camouflaged as he watches my wife and I. And this is like a perfect example of why so many people have so much skepticism about their existence, is they can be right there. They're intelligent. Their observation skills are second to none. They can stay still and watch you, and you never even know they're there. So Melanie's picking up on subtle movement. She hears something down a little further from where she was just filming when she caught this one on film. So she makes a little adjustment in shooting behind her and changes the angle to try to get a look over in the area where she's hearing this other noise. And about 25 feet away, this guy's standing there. So she's responding to what she hears, and this is what she's capturing on film. It's not rocket science, man. People aren't paying attention, and they don't understand how the Sasquatch exists and really how they coexist with us when we're in their environments. They're always watching us. They're sneaky. Just because he's 8 feet tall and weighs 700, 800 pounds doesn't mean he sounds like he's 8 feet tall and he's 700, 800 pounds busting through the bush all the time. They can be very subtle. This is two Sasquatch in the same clip within 25 feet of each other, watching us. And see, this is the kind of stuff that gives skeptics problems, because skeptics rely on belief instead of data. The data in this clip and in the images you're seeing right now clearly shows two different hominoids that are captured on film within 25 feet of each other. Whether you believe that they're real or not has no bearing on the data you're staring at. You can plainly see the two hominoids. Learn to change your perspective from reliance on belief to reliance on the data that you retrieve from your expeditions and the film you shoot. And you're going to continue getting closer and closer by using that data, because the data's real. That's what we're doing, and there you can see it's working. Okay, so these are the following clips after the clip that she shot while I was giving the segment, and we heard all hell break loose in that water. They slipped back down the bank, and so we're going to investigate, because she was there filming and didn't let me know until after the end of what I was doing. Where she's at right now is where that big female was, this one here. She just walked right there where it was. But we heard them take off as we moved back up and stood up after we were done doing what we were doing. They were watching us, they saw us move, and they took off. We heard it plain as day, and now we're investigating it.
Go ahead. I got a strong smell.
So in this particular situation, we've had movement, and Melanie recognizes it, starts to film behind her. In addition to that, when we come up the bank, all hell breaks loose, and it sounds like several Sasquatch are taking off into the water down there off that bank, jumping, moving into those bushes. At the same time, we move across the trail because we're freaking out, going, oh my God, all this movement, you know. Then we start to smell them. I say it. Man, I got strong smell, and it's a very distinct smell. It's the same thing we smell every time they're around us. So we know we've got all this corroborating evidence going on, and we're going to go down there and we're going to try to document it. Now keep in mind, they are right here somewhere. Now we're going to go down and investigate. Mel's leading the way down there to where she's heard all the movement and caught them on film. And they're somewhere right here.
Look at this.
So how did the factors that we've been documenting for 5 years actually come into play in situations like this? Well, I still framed this shot so you can see this is the environment that they retreat into. There's water directly in front. They can literally go into that water and push into that bush. They can have most of their body submerged with their head out of the water and still be in that bush right in front of us. You'd never know they were there. If it wasn't for the fact that we heard them and we picked up on the smells, that same smell, that hominoid smell that we've identified over years of research as being significant to them, we would never even have thought that this was a Sasquatch. But here we are, we're looking, and what do we actually find here? We're in a situation where we had all this stuff going on in the bushes around us, in an area where we've seen them, found the tracks. All of this stuff is going on, and yet we don't see anything. So what would have happened if, because we didn't see anything, we just dismissed all of it? Well, we wouldn't have looked at the film because there's nothing of value on it, right? Wrong.
We got something right over here. You hear that stick?
Yeah.
That's some guns going off.
Now, if you listen closely, you can literally hear a gas-powered water pump running in the background. They're engaged actively in eco-engineering of the Sasquatch's habitat, trying to change the topography of the area, we believe, to force them out into the areas they want them to be in, which actually is the area you're staring at now, across this water, the government preserve.
There's one here. There's one here. And there's a couple.
I just pointed directly at that individual. If you look closely, you can see that guy's mouth, you can see his teeth, and you can see part of his nose, a little bit of his face there. He's sitting there watching us from inside the government preserve. Here's another one inside the government preserve. This is a spot called Two Trees. That's a juvenile Sasquatch watching us from the bushes. Strange looking dude, man. Now, obviously, this individual's in the bush, so it could have bush over the top of its head a little bit so you can't see it all, but you can see his eyes right there blinking inside the little round sockets. The bone structure. There's some bush in his face. There's one across, a branch across his face here and there. But that's a young one, and it's literally inside of that preserve that we believe is set aside specifically for them. We think they're trying to drive them into these areas so they can study them better. There he is blinking again. Maybe a young female? Either way, it's there. They blend in so well, you'd be questioning this stuff. Unless you're there and you're experiencing what's going on and you can hear them and you know or you've seen them, you wouldn't buy it. You wouldn't believe it. That's why nobody believes it. They blend in so well. They just end up looking just like part of the environment. Here's one peeking around a tree. This is from Mayaka. This is from some early footage I shot with my son in 2012. This is the day after he saw the Sasquatch that he saw in Mayaka and reported it. You can see that guy's peeking out from behind a tree. That's a young Bigfoot. Now, there are a few in this actual area right at this point. We're responding to a bunch of rock banging. You can hear them hitting the rocks together. It looks like a little primate, you know? Kind of resembles this guy. You can see the eyes inside there blinking. Some kind of a little primate. Crazy looking, man. Too big to be a spider monkey. There are some spider monkeys in my ACA that have been, released from the zoos during hurricanes. They escaped and all that kind of stuff when their structures get destroyed. But this is a juvenile Sasquatch. We're convinced of that. It's way too big to be one of those little spider monkeys, and it doesn't look like one. Got a hooded nose. How does what we shoot in the field compare with hominoid skulls? This one in particular compares magnificently. You can see the individual peeking out from behind that tree. It actually looks like his skull, right? This is a different frame, same hominoid skull. Another different frame, same skull. This individual here has the exact same type of skull, and he's peeking from around a bush. I was about 50 yards away, but he's got that skull. Here's an individual, it's harder to see. He's in a bush, but he's got that hominoid skull. This is an individual I saw through a thermal, and a month and a half later, caught him on thermal. There's that same exact hominoid skull. If you look, you can plainly see the features of that individual's face, but only instead of a drawing, it's a heat signature. That's a living creature with a heat signature. That's that same individual that I saw through the thermal about 2 months ago now, and it's got the hominoid skull. It's interesting how even the thermal signatures, even the heat signatures of these bushes look like Sasquatch. Oh, but the rest of the bushes don't actually have a heat signature. That's one special bush. Do they all look like that? No, but for the most part, yes. You can see this little guy, he's wrapped up against a tree there, and he's got the hominoid skull. This one, the hominoid skull. You can see these guys. They all have this hominoid type skull. Pointy head, garden troll, hominoid skull. Giant gray Sasquatch hanging out by a tree, watching my wife, hominoid skull. Little guy hanging out 35 feet from us, hominoid skull. What are we catching on film here? Is it starting to sink in? If it's not, you have visual difficulty. These are hominoids we're catching on film. Archaic hominoids. They've been around for a very long time. They're different species than man, though certain DNA studies have linked them to us. Got that whitish gray skin in the background there, and yet you see the hominoid skull. Reason I'm doing this is very few people in the skeptical community actually realize that when they say there's no fossil trail for Sasquatch or Bigfoot or Skunk-Ape, they're wrong. You're looking at an archaic human primate skull, a hominoid skull. There it is again, only this one's alive. Here in the state of Florida, they are all over the place. In fact, they were here long before modern humans settled. There's another frame of that one with that grayish white skin, and it compares magnificently to that guy. The hominoids. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you again soon. Here's a nice shot of a Florida Bigfoot staring at me as I film it. If you're having trouble seeing it, it's that thing in the center that looks like a troll. Yeah, that's them.